Prologue, The Forgotten Genius, New York City, 1943. The wind howled between the towering buildings of Manhattan, whispering through alleys like forgotten secrets. Inside room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel, a solitary figure lay still. Nikola Tesla, hailed as a visionary, now dismissed as a madman, had died alone, penniless, and nearly erased from the memory of the world he helped illuminate. The newspapers reported it with passing lines, "Scientist dies in hotel." Few realized that the man they buried with little ceremony had once harnessed lightning, lit up cities, and dreamed of powering the earth itself without wires. Tesla wasn't just another inventor. He was a prophet of energy, a messenger of the future born in the wrong century. He imagined a world connected by invisible forces long before the internet, smartphones, or satellites. And yet, the world abandoned, he mocked him, robbed him, and forgot him. His ideas were too bold, his rivals were too powerful, and his own mind, a turbulent storm of brilliance and obsession, often stood in his way. But today, his name rises again on electric cars, scientific units, and in the minds of those who look to the stars for answers. This is not just a story of science. It is a story of battle, betrayal, vision, and vindication. This is the story of Nikola Tesla, the man who lit the path to the 21st century and beyond. Chapter 1. Birth of a Storm. "I was born during a lightning storm," Tesla once said, "and the midwife declared it a bad omen. My mother responded, 'Number, he will be a child of light.'" In the remote village of Smiljan, nestled in the mountainous terrain of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, modern-day Croatia, Nikola Tesla was born at the stroke of midnight on the 10th of July, 1856. The village slept under the canopy of thunderclouds, unaware that a force of nature greater than the storm had entered the world. From the beginning, Tesla was different, a family of opposites. His father, Milutin Tesla, was a stern Orthodox priest and a gifted writer and orator. Milutin had dreams of his son following in his clerical footsteps, guiding people with sermons rather than science. But Nikola had inherited more from his mother, Duka Mandic, than anyone realized. Though uneducated formally, Duka was a mechanical genius. She invented household tools and weaving devices and could memorize epic poetry with ease. Tesla later credited her for his inventive spirit and photographic memory. He once said, "My mother was an inventor of the first order. I feel that I inherited all my inventiveness from her." As a child, Nikola suffered from intense hallucinations and hypersensitivity to light and sound. He could visualize entire devices in his mind, rotating them, adjusting parts, and solving mechanical problems without ever drawing a blueprint. These were early signs of what we now call a eidetic imagination, though in his time it was seen as either genius or madness. Early glimpses of genius. Tesla's brilliance began to show before he even reached 10. He read entire libraries and could recite volumes from memory. He was obsessed with patterns and numerical symmetry, often walking in threes and refusing to stay in rooms with numbers divisible by 3. These quirks, which would intensify with age, were both a part of his genius and the cause of his social isolation. One childhood memory haunted him throughout life: the death of his beloved older brother, Dane. While playing with a horse, Dane was thrown and killed. Many believed Nikola was somehow responsibly whisper that followed him for years and may have fueled his obsessive drive to prove his worth. Huge the first inventions. Tesla's first invention came in the form of a mechanical water wheel, which he built at age 5 using wood, twine, and river current. He later designed an insect-powered motor by attaching wings of beetles to a rotating disc, perhaps the earliest rudimentary exploration of biomechanics by a child. But it was electricity that fascinated him most. He observed the effects of static shocks on his body. He studied lightning with awe. He would spend hours staring at the sky asking himself, what is this force? Can it be controlled? Education and defiance. Tesla enrolled at the Austrian Polytechnic School in Graz in 1875. There, he astounded professors with his memory and calculation skills. In his first year, he earned the highest grades possible in all subjects and worked tirelessly, often studying for 19 hours a day. He became obsessed with the idea of creating a motor that would run on alternating current, ACA, theory that his professors dismissed as impossible. Tesla, as always, refused to believe what others claimed could not be done. But genius came at a cost. By his third year, overwhelmed by pressure, lack of sleep, and financial instability, Tesla dropped out, broke ties with his family, and began wandering through life as a kind of scientific vagabond. He suffered what seemed like a nervous breakdown. At one point, he was seen in public shaking uncontrollably, whispering mathematical formulas into the air. Across the Balkans, the wilderness years. Tesla took up various jobs as a draftsman, electrician, and engineer. He worked in Budapest, where he reportedly suffered from visions and synesthesia, seeing flashes of light when hearing sounds, or associating certain tastes with emotions. This neurological phenomenon only strengthened his ability to connect abstract ideas, and he soon developed a mental blueprint of what would become his first AC motor. In Budapest, Tesla began speaking of building a machine that would change the world, a motor powered not by sparks, but by the very rhythm of the earth itself. He shared his vision with friend Anthony Szigeti, saying, "I have solved the problem. My motor will run on alternating current. No commutators, no brushes, just energy flowing like a river." No one believed him. He was unemployed, broke, and seemed barely sane, but he carried in his mind a perfect machine of vision that would not fade. Paris and the spark of opportunity. Tesla moved to Paris in 1882 and began working for the Continental Edison Company, where he was tasked with improving direct current DC systems. Though he respected Edison's ingenuity, he believed DC was flawed, inefficient over long distances, wasteful, and limited in scope. There, he designed an induction motor powered by alternating corrente, revolutionary concept. But his European employers were skeptical. AC was dangerous, they said. It couldn't be controlled. But Tesla knew otherwise. He kept designing in secret, building his future invention in his mind's eye. When an American manager at Edison's company saw his potential, he handed Tesla a one-way ticket and a letter of introduction to Thomas Edison himself. The note read, "I know two great men. One is you, the other is this young man." Tesla packed his bags and boarded a ship to New York City, carrying little more than a notebook, a bundle of clothes, and the schematics to change the world. He did not yet know that the man he was about to work for, Thomas Edison, would one day become both his greatest rival and the architect of his ruin. Chapter 2. Visions of the Invisible. Before I put a sketch on paper, the idea is worked out mentally. In my mind, I change the construction, make improvements, and even operate the device. Without ever having drawn a sketch, I can give the measurements of all parts to workmen, and when completed, the device works as I conceived it should. Nikola Tesla. Arrival in America. In June 1884, Nikola Tesla arrived in New York City, a city of smokestacks, gas lamps, horse-drawn carriages, and newly rising skyscrapers. He was 28, thin from malnutrition, exhausted from the voyage, and nearly penniless, yet he walked ashore with a fire in his mind. He had arrived in the land of promise, and he was determined to reshape it with the power of alternating current. His first stop? Thomas Edison's laboratory. Road. The Edison Encounter. Tesla presented himself at Edison Machine Works with the letter of recommendation from Charles Batchelor, one of Edison's trusted men in Paris. The note famously said, "My dear Edison, I know two great men and you are one of them. The other is this young man. Edison, practical and shrewd, was unimpressed by Tesla's European credentials. He didn't trust theories, trusted results. When Tesla explained his vision of alternating current, Edison brushed him off. "Foolish," he muttered. "You're wasting your time with that nonsense. Stick to direct current. It's the future." Despite their disagreement, Edison hired Tesla to work on fixing and improving DC dynamos. Tesla labored endlessly, sometimes sleeping only 2 hours a night, and amazed Edison with his technical brilliance. One day, Edison jokingly promised Tesla $50,000 if he could redesign the company's entire system for efficiency. Tesla took him at his word and delivered. But when he returned for the reward, Edison laughed. "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." Tesla was humiliated. The betrayal cut deep. Soon after, he resigned, digging trenches and finding allies. Now jobless in a foreign land, Tesla was forced to dig ditches for $2 a day, ironically laying underground cables for Edison's DC network. But Tesla never gave up on his dream. His passion for alternating current remained unshaken. By 1887, he attracted attention from two influential businessmen, Alfred Brown and Charles Peck, who offered to fund his research. With their backing, Tesla opened a small laboratory in Manhattan, where he built and perfected his AC induction motor. Unlike DC motors that required sparks, commutators, and constant maintenance, Tesla's motor used the principle of rotating magnetic fields to produce smooth, efficient, and scalable power. It was an engineering miracle, the AC revelation. At a demonstration in 1888 before the American Institute of Electrical Engineers, Tesla unveiled his induction motor. The audience of scientists and engineers was stunned. Among them was George Westinghouse, a visionary industrialist from Pittsburgh who saw in Tesla the future of electricity. "Mr. Tesla," he said, "you have something here that will change the world." Westinghouse offered Tesla $60,000 in cash and stock for his patents, an enormous sum at the time, and promised a royalty of $2.5 for every horsepower of AC power sold. Tesla accepted. It was a deal that would launch the war of currents, a technological, corporate, and personal battle that would define the future of global electricity. Line: "The war of currents begins." Thomas Edison was furious. He had invested his name, company, and reputation in direct current. Tesla's alternating current, backed by Westinghouse, posed an existential threat. Thus began one of the fiercest rivalries in scientific history. Edison fought dirty. He launched a propaganda campaign to demonize AC, claiming it was dangerous and deadly. He funded public demonstrations where animals, dogs, calves, even an elephant were electrocuted with AC to frighten the public. The message was clear: AC kills. He even supported the creation of the electric chair, using H-oping to brand Tesla's system as a tool of death. But Tesla remained calm. He believed the truth of his invention would shine through. The spread of civilization may be likened to a fire. First a feeble spark, next a flickering flame, then a mighty blaze. Tesla. Demonstrations of brilliance. To combat Edison's smear campaign, Tesla held public lectures and electrical exhibitions, dazzling crowds with safe demonstrations of high-voltage AC. At times, he would allow millions of volts to pass through his own body, creating sparks and glowing light around him while remaining unharmed. The press began calling him a wizard. He used a device he invented, the Tesla coil to create arcs of lightning in theaters, making audiences gasp. He lit lamps wirelessly and danced with electricity like a magician of the future. Crowds saw not a killer current, but a marvel, lighting the world, Niagara Falls. The climax of Tesla's early success came in 1893 when Westinghouse won the contract to electrify the Chicago World's Fair, the Columbian Exposition. It would be the largest public demonstration of AC power in history. Tesla's lights bathed the fair in pure, glowing illumination, stunning millions of visitors. Then came the ultimate victory, the contract to build the first hydroelectric power station at Niagara Falls using Tesla's AC system. In 1895, Tesla's design succeeded in transmitting electric power over 26 miles to Buffalo, New York, something Edison's DC system could never do. Tesla had won. AC became the global standard. Riches, fame, and a glimpse of madness. For a brief time, Tesla was wealthy and famous. He mingled with New York's elite, dined with Mark Twain, and was hailed as a genius in the press. But beneath the success, cracks began to show. Tesla became increasingly eccentric. He refused to shake hands, obsessed over cleanliness, and avoided jewelry and round objects. He spoke of receiving visions and signals from other planets. He developed an intense fear of germs and would only use napkins in multiples of 3. He worked through the night, rarely slept, and became consumed with ever more ambitious projects: wireless energy, Earth resonance, energy weapons, and even anti-gravity machines. And yet, he was losing control. He had conquered the battlefield of currents, but darker storms awaited him in the shadows of ambition, betrayal, and obsession. Chapter 3. Across the Ocean. The scientific man does not aim at an immediate result. He does not expect that his advanced ideas will be readily taken up. His duty is to lay the foundation for those who are to come. Nikola Tesla. Tesla in a New World. When Nikola Tesla crossed the Atlantic Ocean in 1884, he entered a country electrifying itself in both the literal and metaphorical sense. America was booming with opportunity, industrial expansion, and unprecedented invention. Railroads, steel, coal, and telegraph lines were transforming the landscape. Yet, for Tesla, America would become a land of paradox, a sanctuary of innovation, and a crucible of exploitation. After Edison. Tesla's split with Edison marked more than the end of a working relationship. It symbolized the divide between two different worlds of thought. Edison was hands-on, iterative, and commercial. Tesla was theoretical, visionary, and idealistic. After leaving Edison's company, Tesla spent months in poverty. He dug ditches by day and scribbled formulas by candlelight at night. But in these dark days, a seed took root. Tesla's idea for the perfect motor. He imagined a machine with no brushes, no commutators, and no contact, driven by a rotating magnetic field, the AC induction motor. At the time, it was nothing short of heresy to established engineers. But Tesla saw not what existed, he saw what was possible. The vision finds a backer. In 1887, Tesla met Charles Peck and Alfred Brown, two investors intrigued by his designs. With their support, he opened his first real laboratory on 89 Liberty Street, New York City, and began to build. The motor he created was revolutionary, simple, efficient, and elegant. Instead of brute force engineering, it relied on pure physics electromagnetic fields rotating in harmony to drive motion. Tesla applied for patents on his entire AC system: generators, transformers, transmission lines, and motors. It wasn't just an invention, it was an entire ecosystem of energy. And then came George Westinghouse. The deal of a lifetime. Westinghouse, already a successful inventor and industrialist, believed in Tesla's vision. He offered to buy his patents for $60,000, a massive sum at the time, a handsome salary, and a royalty of $2.5 per horsepower of electricity sold using Tesla's designs. Tesla agreed, finally able to work freely and fund his experiments. This partnership turned the tide in the war of currents. While Edison clung to direct current, DC, Tesla and Westinghouse championed alternating current, AC, capable of traveling hundreds of miles without loss, powering entire cities with minimal infrastructure. What followed was a battle for the very future of electricity. The current wars intensify. Edison launched a brutal campaign against AC. He hired publicists, wrote editorials, and orchestrated gruesome public demonstrations where animals were electrocuted with AC to show its supposed danger. In one chilling event, he oversaw the electrocution of an elephant named Topsy, filmed as a propaganda piece against AC. He even helped develop the electric chair, hoping to label Tesla's system as the executioner's current. But the tide was turning. Tesla remained composed, holding exhibitions where millions of volts coursed through his body harmlessly. He lit bulbs wirelessly, made sparks fly through the air, and even transmitted messages without wires. The public was captivated. Tesla was no longer seen as just a scientist, was a showman of the future, a magician of physics, the world's Columbian Exposition. In 1893, the organizers of the World's Fair in Chicago needed an electrical system to light the entire exposition. It was the perfect stage for the showdown between AC and DC. Edison, now part of General Electric, bid with DC. Westinghouse, using Tesla's AC system, underbid Thiem and won. Tesla's system lit up the fair with over 100,000 incandescent lamps, and for the first time in human history, a massive public event was illuminated entirely by electricity. It was a turning point. The success stunned the world. AC was not only safe, it was brilliant. Public sentiment shifted. Niagara Falls, the ultimate test. Shortly after, Tesla and Westinghouse were awarded the contract to build the Niagara Falls hydroelectric power plant, the most ambitious electrical engineering project in the world. Tesla had once dreamed of harnessing the power of nature, the very rhythm of the earth itself. Now that dream was becoming real. In 1895, the station successfully transmitted power to Buffalo, New York, 26 miles away. For the first time, an entire city was powered by distant natural energy, all thanks to Tesla's AC system. The event marked the definitive victory of alternating current. Tesla had not only beaten Edison, he had redefined energy itself. Tesla, the celebrity. For a brief period in the late 1890s, Tesla enjoyed celebrity status. He dined with New York's elite, posed for photographs, and held court in his lab for writers, journalists, and scientists alike. He mingled with Mark Twain, who once posed for a now-famous photo standing inside Tesla's lab, surrounded by bolts of electricity. But fame came with new pressure, and Tesla began speaking more openly about strange theories and distant dreams, transmitting energy through the earth, contacting extraterrestrial intelligence, wireless global communication, unlimited free electricity for the entire world. These weren't empty words. He was designing the systems to do it. And then came Wardenclyffe, the tower to touch the sky. With new funding from investor J.P. Morgan, Tesla set out to build his most ambitious project, a wireless global transmission tower on Long Island. Called Wardenclyffe Tower, it was intended to send both energy and information across the planet without wires. Tesla envisioned a world wireless system where anyone could communicate instantly and draw power from the air-free energy powered by the Earth's natural resonance. It was audacious, it was revolutionary, and it was doomed. When Morgan learned Tesla intended to make the system free and global, he pulled his funding. If anyone can draw power from the sky, where do we put the meter? Without funds, construction halted. Tesla spiraled into debt and despair. The tower stood incomplete, a rusting monument to a dream ahead of its time, the mind that would not rest. Despite setbacks, Tesla continued working. He experimented with resonant frequencies, X-rays, earthquake generators, and even began theorizing about death rays, what he called the Teleforce weapon. Though many considered these ideas fantastical, later generations would see in them the seeds of modern radar, remote control, and directed energy weapons. But the press began to shift. Tesla was no longer seen solely as a genius. He was called eccentric, mad, even dangerous. The public turned to other rising stars, Einstein, Marconi, and Edison, while Tesla faded into the background. Yet through it all, he remained convinced that he was building for the future, not for the present. "Let the future tell the truth," he once said. "The present is theirs. The future for which I have really worked is mine." Huge Chapter 4. The War of Currents. It is not a dream. It is a simple feat of scientific electrical engineering, only expensive, blind, faint-hearted, doubting world. Nikola Tesla. A nation divided by electricity. In the late 1880s and early 1890s, the United States became the battlefield for one of the most brutal and transformative technological conflicts in history, the War of Currents. At the center stood Nikola Tesla, the idealist dreamer who had envisioned alternating current, AC, while pacing the streets of Budapest. By his side, George Westinghouse, the pragmatic industrialist willing to fund his vision. On the other side, Thomas Edison, the wizard of Menlo Park, entrenched in his direct current DC empire, supported by business moguls and the early establishment of General Electric. This was not just a war of science, it was a war of money, patents, propaganda, and public perception, and it would determine the future of power on Earth. What was the difference? To the average person, electricity was magic, but under the surface there was a critical engineering question. Direct current, DC, favored by Edison, flowed in one direction and required a generator every mile or so due to energy loss. Alternating current, AC, pioneered by Tesla, changed direction 60 times per second, allowing for high-voltage transmission over long distances and the ability to step voltage up or down with transformers. AC was more efficient, more scalable, and far more suited to building a national grid. But it threatened everything Edison had built, and so he fought back. Edison's smear campaign. Edison, determined to discredit Tesla's AC system, launched a fear-based propaganda campaign. He claimed AC was too dangerous, that it could kill indiscriminately, and that it was a threat to society. To drive the point home, he sponsored gruesome public demonstrations. At one such event, Edison's team electrocuted dogs, cats, and even a horse using AC. The idea was simple. If AC could kill animals, surely it would kill people too. In 1890, a man named William Kemmler became the first person executed in the electric chair powered by alternating current. The execution was botched, gruesome, and widely covered by the press. The headline message: Tesla's electricity kills. But what Edison didn't realize was that the public had begun to notice the efficiency and brightness of AC-powered systems. Tesla's response: dazzle, don't debate. Rather than fight with mud, Tesla responded with demonstrations of wonder. He filled lecture halls, dazzling crowds with bolts of lightning that leapt from coils, lamps that glowed without wires, and metal plates that hummed with invisible energy. One particularly iconic demonstration: Tesla allowed hundreds of thousands of volts to pass through his body, lighting tubes and bulbs with his bare hands. He was untouched. To many, he seemed not of this world. Electricity, he said, is a living force. I do not fear it. I understand it. While Edison cast fear, Tesla inspired awe. George Westinghouse, the unsung ally. Tesla might have been the mind behind the AC system, but it was George Westinghouse who made it a reality. Where Tesla dreamed, Westinghouse built. He deployed AC systems in city after city, quietly replacing Edison's DC networks. But the costs were enormous. Lawsuits, PR battles, and infrastructure wars drained Westinghouse's fortune. At one point, facing bankruptcy, he approached Tesla and said, "I can't keep up the royalty payments. The patents are bleeding us dry." Tesla paused, then tore up the contract. He walked away from what today would be worth billions of dollars in royalties. "You have kept your word," Tesla told Westinghouse. "You've built my system. I will not let you go under for doing the right thing." It was one of the most selfless acts in corporate history, and one that cost Tesla financial stability for the rest of his life. The Chicago World's Fair, Triumph of AC. In 1893, Tesla and Westinghouse were awarded the contract to power the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, beating out General Electric's bid using DC. The fair was to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Columbus's voyage. But it would also be the moment where AC electrified the imagination of the world. Tesla's system powered over 100,000 electric lights, moving walkways, and massive displays. He stood on stage and lit lamps wirelessly, passed electricity through his body, and created artificial lightning. People gasped, some fainted, others wept. For the first time, the masses saw electricity not as terror, but as transcendence. Niagara Falls, nature tamed. In 1895, the final blow in the current war came with the completion of the Niagara Falls power plant. Using Tesla's AC system, engineers built a hydroelectric station that transmitted power 26 miles to Buffalo, New York. Edison had said it couldn't be done, but when the switch was thrown, Buffalo lit up, powered by the thundering cascade of water a continent away. It was a technological miracle and a spiritual triumph for Tesla. Even Lord Kelvin, one of the most respected scientists of the age and once a DC supporter, visited the station and declared, "Tesla was right. This is the future." The aftermath, victory and isolation. AC had triumphed, Tesla had revolutionized electricity, but the war had taken its toll. Westinghouse, though still in business, was battered by debt. Edison, humiliated, began to shift focus to motion pictures and mining. Tesla, though hailed in scientific circles, began to withdraw from public life. He had won, but at the cost of his fortune, his health, and his trust in people. And still he wasn't finished. Beyond currents, toward the impossible. Now freed from the currents war, Tesla focused on wireless energy and worldwide communication. He believed the Earth itself could be used to transmit electricity and information without wires. And visioned wireless lighting, free global electricity, a worldwide communication network, weather control, machines that drew energy from the atmosphere. Most dismissed these as fantasies. But Tesla had already made the impossible real once. Why not again? Legacy of the war. Though the war of currents is often framed as a battle between two men, Edison and Tesla, was more than anything a struggle between paradigms. Between the past and the future. Between control and freedom. Between commerce and contribution. Edison sought to sell electricity. Tesla sought to liberate it. In the end, Tesla's system became the backbone of the modern world. Every power grid today, every home, factory, and city hall run on alternating current. And yet, Tesla's name faded. Edison became immortalized in textbooks, museums, and corporate legacies. Tesla became a footnote. But as the 20th century closed and the 21st dawned, something changed. The world began to rediscover the man who saw further than any of his peers. I do not care that they stole my idea. I care that they do not have any of their own. Nikola Tesla. Chapter 5. The Tower That Reached the Stars. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. Nikola Tesla. By A Vision Takes Form. In the aftermath of his triumph in the War of Currents, Nikola Tesla found himself with something he hadn't had in years: money and attention. He was at the height of his fame. His name filled headlines. He dined with the elite, exchanged letters with world leaders, and was even offered honorary degrees. But unlike others, Tesla did not bask in celebrity. He viewed his victories not as ends but beginnings. While the world celebrated electrified cities, Tesla dreamed of something far greater. He imagined a planetary energy network system that would transmit electricity and information wirelessly across continents and oceans, using the Earth itself as a conductor. To most, it sounded like science fiction. To Tesla, it was science. The global wireless system. Tesla's idea was radical. To build a system that could transmit messages across the world without wires, distribute electrical power wirelessly to homes, ships, and industries, tap into the resonant frequencies of the Earth using it like a giant tuning fork, eliminate dependency on coal, wires, and cables. He called it the World Wireless System. He believed the Earth had conductive layers, and that by transmitting at the right frequency, one could send both power and communication signals to any point on the planet. His experiments with high-frequency currents and Tesla coils in Colorado Springs had convinced him it could be done. But to make it real, he needed a Laba Basia tower. J.P. Morgan enters the scene. To fund his dream, Tesla turned to the most powerful financier of the age, J. Pierpont Morgan, the banking titan behind U.S. Steel and the railroads. Tesla pitched the World Wireless System as a global communications platform, a tool to transmit telegraph messages, images, even voice across the Atlantic without cables. He did not emphasize the free electricity aspect, fearing Morgan might balk. Morgan agreed to invest. In 1901, he provided $150,000, equivalent to millions today, to build a transmission tower and laboratory on Long Island, New York. Tesla acquired 200 acres in Shoreham and began constructing the facility. He named it Wardenclyffe Tower, building the dream. Wardenclyffe was no ordinary tower. It stood 187 feet tall, topped by a massive metal dome. Beneath it, Tesla built a deep shaft with iron rods that reached into the earth to serve as a ground connection for global resonance. The tower wasn't just a transmission device, it was a monument to Tesla's belief in an invisible energy that could link humanity. The design combined cutting-edge physics, electrical engineering, and atmospheric science. Tesla worked around the clock, often sleeping in short bursts, rising to scribble equations, and returning to oversee construction. Journalists called him the electric prophet. He believed Wardenclyffe would be the first of many towers built around the globe, creating a network that could empower every person on Earth for free. But then the truth emerged. Where do we put the meter? Tesla had made a fatal miscalculation not in science, but in business. J.P. Morgan soon learned that Tesla intended not just to send messages through the air, but power as well. Free power. Power that could not be metered, sold, or monopolized. Morgan was furious. He pulled his funding immediately. When Tesla requested more capital, Morgan replied coldly, "If you can draw energy from the air, where do we put the meter?" Without Morgan, no other investors dared step in. Tesla was radioactive. His dream threatened the very economic model of the industrial age. The collapse of Wardenclyffe, construction halted in 1905. Tesla was devastated. He tried desperately to keep the project alive, writing letters, offering lectures, appealing to philanthropists, but none came. Debt consumed him. He mortgaged the property and equipment. Eventually, Wardenclyffe Tower was dismantled and sold for scrap in 1917 to pay off his debts. Tesla's utopia had been torn down not by physics, but by profit. The media ridiculed him. Former colleagues distanced themselves. Tesla's a household name was now dismissed as eccentric, mad, or worse, irrelevant. Dreams beyond the tower. Despite the collapse, Tesla never stopped believing in wireless power. He claimed to have built a working receiver that drew energy from the atmosphere. He continued publishing theories about resonant energy, wireless transmission, and Earth frequencies. Some reports suggested he was receiving signals from space, perhaps the first recorded instances of radio waves from distant sources, or perhaps something more. He believed the Earth had a natural hum, and that one could ride its vibrations like a conductor rides a wave. In secret notebooks, he wrote about mechanical oscillators that could potentially cause earthquakes, scalar waves, and even weapons of infinite energy. To the public, it sounded like insanity. But decades later, military researchers, radio engineers, and theoretical physicists would rediscover his work and wonder, was he right all along? Mark Twain, Friendship and Light. One of Tesla's closest friends during this time was Mark Twain, the famed author. Twain, fascinated by science and electricity, visited Tesla's lab frequently. He once stood in the center of a Tesla coil, laughing as voltage danced across his skin. Tesla took photographs of Twain illuminated by wireless bulbs proof that light could travel without wires. The two shared a strange bond. Tesla's mind full of mathematics and energy, Twain's heart full of stories and wit. It was perhaps the only human connection Tesla allowed himself to maintain. Tesla's own light dims. By the late 1910s, Tesla was increasingly seen as a relic of a bygone age. Marconi received credit for inventing radio, even though Tesla had filed patents years earlier. New companies, new scientists, and new ideas crowded him out. His health declined. His clothing frayed. His lab was gone. His name forgotten. Yet he kept working. He fed pigeons in Bryant Park, speaking of them as if they were messengers of truth. He lived alone in hotels, accumulating debts, leaving behind unpaid bills and strange diagrams. In interviews, he claimed he was developing a death ray that could end all wars. Governments quietly listened, but the funding never returned. He became a legend veiled in obscurity. I could only achieve success in my life through self-discipline, and I applied it until my wish and my will became one, a mind ahead of time. Today, historians and scientists look back on Wardenclyffe not as a failure, but as a glimpse into the future. Modern experiments in wireless charging, long-range power beaming, and Earth resonance trace their lineage back to Tesla. The concept of a wireless global communication system is realized in Wi-Fi, radio, and satellite internet. The dream of universal free energy remains one of the great unsolved quests in science. Tesla didn't just dream of a connected world. He designed it, built it, and almost pulled it off a century before the rest of us caught up. The tower falls, but the dream stands. In 1917, the Wardenclyffe Tower, Tesla's monument to a better world, was demolished. But even as it fell, its shadow grew. In the 21st century, engineers and entrepreneurs, Elon Musk among them, have cited Tesla's work as inspiration for wireless technologies, space-based energy systems, and sustainable innovation. In time, the tower Tesla built in the minds of dreamers has proven far taller than the metal one he built on Long Island. Chapter 6. Echoes in the Ether. The desire that guides me in all I do is the desire to harness the forces of nature to the service of mankind. Nikola Tesla. The birth of radio and the battle for credit. By the end of the 19th century, the world was on the brink of a communication revolution. Messages that once took weeks to deliver by mail could now be transmitted in seconds through the air. The man most credited with this breakthrough? Guglielmo Marconi, who in 1901 successfully sent the first transatlantic radio signal from England to Newfoundland. But there was a problem. Nikola Tesla had already done it first. Tesla's experiments with wireless transmission began as early as 1892. He demonstrated wireless lighting and energy transfer at public lectures across the U.S. and Europe, even patenting designs for radio transmitters and receivers in 1897, 2 years before Marconi's first wireless patent. In fact, Tesla's wireless transmission was far more advanced in theory and scope than Marconi's Morse-based systems. So why wasn't Tesla recognized? Oh, patent wars and legal injustice. When Marconi submitted his patent applications, they were initially rejected because Tesla's patents already existed. But by 1904, under pressure from British investors and the Marconi Company's growing political influence, the U.S. Patent Office reversed its decision and granted Marconi the patent for the radio. Marconi won global acclaim and was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1909. Tesla, once again, was robbed. He filed lawsuits to challenge the patent and assert his rightful claim. But legal proceedings dragged on for decades. Tesla, by then, had neither the resources nor the legal team to fight properly. It wasn't until 1943, months after Tesla's death, that the U.S. Supreme Court finally reversed the patent decision, restoring credit to Tesla. But by then, history had already chosen its heroes. The signal from beyond. During his experiments in Colorado Springs in 1899, Tesla made a claim that still puzzles scientists today. While tuning his equipment to study atmospheric electricity, he began receiving strange rhythmic signals not from Earth, but from space. I was the first to hear the greeting of one planet to another, Tesla wrote. A purpose was behind these electrical signals. He believed he had intercepted communications from intelligent life, possibly from Mars or another celestial body. Skeptics scoffed. But decades later, scientists like Carl Sagan and Frank Drake would initiate SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, using methods not unlike Tesla's. Was Tesla really hearing alien signals? More likely, he had stumbled upon natural cosmic radio waves, or possibly signals from distant stars, but at the time, such discoveries were beyond the reach of mainstream science. Still, the idea lingered that Tesla had opened a doorway to the universe and caught whispers from the stars, wireless minds, and telemechanics. Tesla's fascination with invisible waves extended beyond electricity. In 1898, he unveiled a device that shocked the world, a radio-controlled boat. At Madison Square Garden, he demonstrated a small vessel in a water tank, remotely piloted using wireless radio signals. It responded to commands like a mechanical servant. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "you are witnessing the birth of the robot." It was one of the first demonstrations of remote control technology, predating drones, missiles, and RC toys by nearly a century. But Tesla's ambitions went further. He spoke of teleautomatons, machines that could think, respond, and act independently. He envisioned fleets of robotic weapons capable of defending nations without human casualties. He even imagined robots that could reason and learn, anticipating artificial intelligence long before anyone else had defined the term. Once again, the world dismissed it as fantasy. But today, Tesla's ideas are alive in AI, drones, robotics, and the Internet of Things. A mind beyond measurement. By the 1910s, Tesla's reputation had begun to fracture. He continued writing letters to editors and delivering public lectures, but now many of his ideas seemed unverifiable or simply too far ahead for anyone to grasp. Some of his more radical claims included harnessing cosmic rays to generate electricity, drawing energy from the vacuum of space, building machines powered by human thought, constructing a death ray that could destroy armies from hundreds of miles away. The press branded him the mad scientist, but the military quietly listened. During World War I and later in World War II, governments showed interest in his Teleforce weapona, directed energy beam that Tesla claimed could make aircraft fleets fall from the sky. No working prototype was ever found, but the blueprints and notes Tesla left behind became objects of fascination for intelligence agencies. The missing files. When Tesla died in 1943, the FBI seized boxes of his personal papers and research documents from his hotel room. Officially, the contents were classified as harmless and of no practical value. Unofficially, conspiracy theories abound. Some believe Tesla's notes were used in secret weapons programs. Others think his energy research was buried to protect existing power industries. To this day, parts of Tesla's papers remain missing. A flickering flame. In the 1920s and 1930s, Tesla's public appearances dwindled. He spent most of his days feeding pigeons in New York parks, wearing gloves and layers of worn suits, shunning handshakes and interviews. He became known not for his genius, but for his peculiar habits, insisting on walking around a block 3 times before entering a building, using 18 napkins to clean cutlery at restaurants, reacting violently to earrings or round objects. Journalists wrote him off. Investors had moved on. Yet in his hotel room, Tesla continued to draw, design, and dream, echoes that still resonate. What Tesla did often without funding, often in isolation still, astounds scientists today. Radio, remote control, wireless power, fluorescent lighting, Earth resonance theory, X-ray imaging, rotating magnetic fields. He wasn't just an inventor. He was a seer, channeling knowledge from a realm most people couldn't see: ether, space-time, or perhaps pure genius. And even when ignored, Tesla continued. The present is theirs. The future, for which I really worked, is mine. He knew the world would one day listen. Chapter 7. The Mad Scientist Myth. The scientists of today think deeply instead of clearly. One must be sane to think clearly, but one can think deeply and be quite insane. Nikola Tesla. From visionary to curiosity. By the 1910s and 1920s, Nikola Tesla's name had slowly begun to slip from the headlines. Once the electrifying genius who lit up the Chicago World's Fair and built machines that defied belief, he was now more often discussed for his eccentricities than for his inventions. He had no steady income, no laboratory of his own, and no investors left who would support his impossible dreams. But his mind was no less alive. Tesla continued inventing, designing, and scribbling equations with manic urgency. He believed the world was too short-sighted, too constrained by profits, to grasp what he was building. He was right and wrong. The rise of the mad genius stereotype. Tesla became increasingly known not as a scientist, but as a mad genius, a man living in luxury hotels while wearing worn-out suits, walking the streets of New York with a cane, muttering about cosmic rays and machines that ran without fuel. Reporters loved him. He was good for headlines, and Tesla, craving recognition, often fed their appetite with extraordinary statements. I can split the earth like an apple. I have received signals from Mars. I will soon unveil a weapon to end all wars. These statements were partly true, partly showmanship, and partly frustration. Tesla was not mad, but he was isolated, misunderstood, and increasingly disconnected from the scientific establishment. To many, he had become a joke. To others, he remained a legend in exile. The dove and the heart. Tesla never married. He rarely formed lasting friendships, but he loved deeply, just not in the way most people understood. He spoke often of a particular white dove that visited him at his hotel window in the evenings. "I loved that pigeon," he said in a later interview. Yes, as a man loves a woman. He claimed that one night the dove flew to him and glowed with an inner light. It was a light more intense than I had ever produced by the most powerful lamps in my laboratory. When that dove died, something went out of my life. Something died with her. To the world, it was a bizarre story. To Tesla, it was the final intimate bond he would ever share. His love for the dove symbolized what Tesla truly valued: purity, beauty, and freedom. Obsessions and rituals. Tesla's behavior grew increasingly ritualistic. He developed obsessive-compulsive traits that interfered with daily life. He demanded precisely 18 clean napkins at every meal. He refused to shake hands. He would only stay in hotel rooms whose numbers were divisible by 3. He hated round jewelry and pearls. He avoided touching hair and had a deep aversion to bacteria. He became a recluse not because he hated people, but because the chaos of society clashed with the harmony of his inner world. Some modern researchers believe Tesla may have been on the autism spectrum or suffered from OCD. Others see these as simply the traits of a mind working on levels beyond comprehension. Tesla's secret projects and lost inventions. Even as his public persona frayed, Tesla worked in secret on projects the world would not learn about until decades later. Oscillating machines capable of matching the frequency of buildings and causing tremors — he accidentally caused a local earthquake once. A thought camera, a device to photograph mental images. Earthquake weapons using resonance to split geological plates. Wireless lighting systems powered by the Earth's magnetic field. Designs for vertical takeoff aircraft. Tesla's oscillator, which some believe influenced future seismic and frequency weaponry. Whether these inventions were real, theoretical, or simply sketches of what could be remains a topic of debate. Tesla, however, believed deeply in their potential. Use, the death ray, and the race to weaponize genius. In 1934, at the age of 78, Tesla announced he had developed a weapon so powerful it would make war obsolete. He called it the teleforce beam, a focused particle weapon capable of destroying aircraft at a distance of hundreds of miles, melting tanks, and forming an impenetrable shield around any nation. This invention will make war impossible, he said. It will be a gun that sends no bullets, only energy. Nations will no longer dare to strike each other. No prototypes were ever demonstrated. But Tesla sent blueprints and letters to multiple governments, including the United States, United Kingdom, Soviet Union, and Yugoslavia, offering to share the technology to ensure global peace. The governments expressed interest, but no public investment followed. Some believe secret talks did take place. Others think Tesla's death ray was simply too advanced or too dangerous to be trusted. To this day, the Tesla death ray remains one of the most enduring mysteries in military science. Room 3327, a lab of one. For the final decade of his life, Tesla lived in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. There, surrounded by pigeons, stacks of paper, unpaid bills, and fading photographs, he worked alone. He would walk daily to Bryant Park to feed his birds, return at dusk, and sit for hours writing in tiny script, often under candlelight. He received occasional visits from reporters and dignitaries, but mostly kept to himself. His birthdays, however, were exceptions. Each year he held a press conference, often announcing bizarre breakthroughs. In 1935, he declared he had developed a system for interplanetary communication. In 1937, he claimed to be working on a non-fuel-based propulsion system. Reporters mocked him, but behind the strange press statements were glimmers of ideas that would become real decades later. Decline and isolation. Tesla's health deteriorated through the 1930s. A traffic accident in 1937 left him with broken ribs and a never-healing injury. He refused medical attention. By 1940, he was almost completely penniless. He survived on a modest pension from the Yugoslav government and the kindness of hotel staff, who sometimes provided meals for free. On the 7th of January, 1943, Nikola Tesla died alone in his room at the age of 86. There was no family, no grand funeral, no choir of accolades. Only a do not disturb sign hung on his door, fluttering with the air of passing silence. Life is and will ever remain an equation incapable of solution, but it contains certain known factors. Nikola Tesla, the myth begins. After his death, something extraordinary happened. Scientists, reporters, and intelligence agents began to revisit his work. Files were seized, labs were scoured, His name returned to newspapers not as a curiosity, but as a lost genius who may have glimpsed the future. The U.S. government commissioned an investigation into his papers, led by a young electrical engineer named John G. Trumpuncle of future President Donald Trump. He concluded that Tesla's ideas, while imaginative, had no present-day application, but others disagreed. His notebooks disappeared. His reputation, once laughed at, began to rise again. Tesla, who died as a forgotten old man, would in time become one of the most revered scientists of all time, symbol of pure invention, uncorrupted by greed. Chapter 8, Experiments in the Dark. If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe. Nikola Tesla. Colorado Springs, the laboratory of lightning. In 1899, Tesla left New York and relocated to Colorado Springs, seeking solitude, space, and most importantly, a higher altitude, where he could conduct high-voltage experiments in a drier atmosphere. The town was quiet, nestled in the Rocky Mountains, but Tesla's intentions were anything but small. He was preparing for his most ambitious and mysterious experiment to date, harnessing the Earth itself as a conductor for wireless energy. Using funds from previous royalties and Westinghouse's support, Tesla established a large lab on the outskirts of the town and built what would become one of the most iconic symbols of his work, a massive Tesla coil connected to an experimental antenna that reached into the sky. The real work had begun. The Tesla coil, lightning in a bottle. The Tesla coil was one of his most famous inventions, a resonant transformer circuit capable of producing extremely high voltage, low current, high-frequency alternating current electricity. It allowed Tesla to create artificial lightning bolts, some up to 130 feet long, with crackling blue energy that lit the Colorado night sky. Locals could hear the thunderous rumble of his experiments from miles away. Sparks shot from the roof of his lab. Static shocks would travel through the ground. Metal tools and nails glowed in barns across the field. People claimed they could light bulbs by holding them in the air with no wires attached. He had tapped into something few had imagined, the resonant frequency of the Earth. Earth as a conductor. Tesla believed the planet itself was an enormous electrical conductor, capable of carrying signals and power across vast distances if the right frequencies were used. His ultimate goal? To develop a system that could send energy wirelessly to any location on Earth, provide free, global electricity to cities, ships, and remote villages, replace wires, power plants, and fossil fuels with a single sustainable global grid. He wrote, "When wireless is fully applied, the Earth will be converted into a huge brain. We shall be able to communicate with one another instantly, irrespective of distance." This wasn't just science, it was visionary metaphysics. Tesla saw the Earth not as a rock in space, but as a living, resonating body, humming with potential energy. The night the power overwhelmed. One night, in 1899, Tesla pushed his equipment to its limits. He increased the power input to his massive coil beyond safe thresholds. The antenna crackled, the air vibrated, then suddenly a blinding blue arc of electricity burst into the sky. Witnesses claimed the ground trembled. Sparks leapt from fences. The town's entire electrical grid was knocked out, its generator short-circuited. Tesla later said, "I wanted to illuminate the sky. I wanted to bring a second sun to Earth." While he succeeded in creating a display of raw energy unlike anything seen before, the incident made locals nervous. Rumors spread of Tesla controlling the weather, of building a machine to cause earthquakes or worse. In truth, he had come dangerously close to creating something he couldn't fully control. Unusual experiments and secrets. While in Colorado, Tesla conducted hundreds of secret experiments. Some were documented, others remain mysterious to this day. Magnetic field tuning. Tesla believed that magnetic fields could be amplified through resonance, potentially creating stable currents from natural background radiation. Wireless transmission of sound. He experimented with modulating sound through electrical discharges, possibly predicting early radio communication or audio over wireless energy. Contact with the unknown. Tesla reported receiving odd, repeating signals during his time in Colorado. He initially suspected natural phenomena, but later hinted that these signals might be of extraterrestrial origin. He wrote, "Although I could not decipher their meaning, it was clear to me that I was not alone." Many later dismissed these signals as interference or cosmic noise. Still, some speculate Tesla may have been the first to detect pulsars or natural radio emissions from deep space. Resonance and destruction. Tesla once demonstrated a device that could cause vibrations strong enough to shake entire buildings. Dubbed the mechanical oscillator, the device was small no larger than a shoebox. But when tuned to the resonant frequency of its environment, it could generate seismic-level vibrations. One experiment caused his New York lab to tremble. The police were called. Tesla quickly destroyed the machine with a sledgehammer. "Had I kept it going 10 more minutes, I could have brought down the entire building," he admitted. He later believed such devices could be scaled up into weapons or used to tap into geological energies. A glimpse of wireless future. Despite controversy, Tesla's work in Colorado laid the foundation for wireless power transfer, radio broadcasting, atmospheric electricity studies, Earth resonance theory. And yet the scientific establishment largely ignored his findings. Tesla wrote dozens of articles, drew hundreds of blueprints, and documented everything meticulously but without funding, peer review, or institutional support. His work was shelved, dismissed as too unconventional. By 1900, Tesla returned to New York, returned to the city, toward Wardenclyffe. Tesla left Colorado Springs with a grand new theory that Earth's natural frequency could serve as the backbone for a planetary energy and communication network. Armed with this belief, he began designing the Wardenclyffe Tower, Chapter 5, a structure meant to tap into the Earth's core and transmit energy wirelessly around the globe. But funding would remain elusive, and worse, his ideas were becoming too advanced for a world just beginning to embrace the light bulb. A lab abandoned, a dream deferred. In the early 1900s, Tesla's Colorado lab was dismantled. Many of its records were lost, stolen, or suppressed. Some locals took parts of the tower as souvenirs. Others called it cursed. But the legend of Tesla's experiments endured. To this day, modern researchers revisit the site and speculate what he might have accomplished. Did he crack the code of global wireless power? Did he create a field of energy capable of long-range transmission? Was he stopped by the limits of technology, by the ambitions of powerful forces? No one knows for certain. But the Earth still hums with potential, and Tesla's legacy in Colorado Springs remains a chapter of genius wrapped in thunder and shadow. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. Chapter 9. Solitude and the White Dove. I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me. As long as I had her, there was a purpose to my life. Nikola Tesla. Genius in exile. By the 1920s, Nikola Tesla had become a living ghost in New York City. Once the darling of scientific circles and elite dinner tables, he now lived alone in a succession of hotel rooms, surviving on meager government pensions, favors, and the fading memory of past glories. No more labs, no more conferences, no new investors. Tesla had withdrawn from the world, but not from his work. Even in obscurity, he continued writing, sketching, and thinking, driven not by profit or fame, but by an internal mission to fulfill what he believed was his cosmic purpose, the daily routine of an unseen mind. Tesla was nothing if not disciplined. His days followed a rigid ritual. He rose late, often around 3 p.m. He dined alone at the Waldorf Astoria, and later the Hotel New Yorker, always requesting exactly 18 clean napkins. He avoided handshakes, human touch, and round jewelry. He walked alone to Bryant Park each night to feed his beloved pigeons. He returned to his hotel, where he wrote letters and recorded notes well into the night. He would often remain up until dawn, working in silence by candlelight. Room 3327, where he lived for nearly a decade, became a sanctuary of memory, mathematics, and mourning. Tesla was not mad. He was melancholic, lonely, misunderstood, but his mind remained clear, and his mission was unchanged. The pigeons of Bryant Park. It was here, in the shadows of skyscrapers, that Tesla formed the most unique and heartbreaking relationship of his life. He cared for the pigeons of the park as if they were family. He knew each one by markings, by behavior. He carried seed in his pockets, and local shopkeepers sometimes offered him crumbs for them. To Tesla, these birds represented freedom, grace, and peace. But there was one white pigeon, unlike all the others. She would fly to his windowsill every day. Tesla insisted she came only for him. He fed her by hand and spoke of her in nearly spiritual terms. "I have been feeding pigeons, thousands of them, for years," he once said. "But there was one, a beautiful white dove. I loved her. Yes, I loved her as a man loves a woman, and she loved me." He claimed that one night the dove flew in, glowing with a strange inner light. "When she died, something went out of my life. I knew my life's work was finished." Whether metaphor, hallucination, or something more mystical, the story of the dove has become symbolic of Tesla's final bond with the world. Genius without a stage. In room 3327, Tesla continued writing to world leaders and scientists. He still believed in a better world. He still dreamed of clean energy transmitted wirelessly across the globe, anti-gravity aircraft powered by unknown frequencies, communication between planets, a universal energy field that could eliminate poverty and war. But he no longer had a lab. No engineers, no alleys. The press mostly ignored Heimexcept on his birthday, when Tesla would grant interviews and release bombastic new claims to remind the world he was still alive. In 1934, he announced the Teleforce weapon his death ray. In 1935, he claimed to have designed a vibration machine that could destroy cities. In 1937, he promised a new energy source more powerful than any known fuel. The world laughed, but Tesla wasn't trying to impress. He was trying to warn. Science is but a perversion of itself unless it has as its ultimate goal the betterment of humanity. O letters from the past. In his final years, Tesla wrote dozens of lettersome to friends long gone, others to world leaders, often never sent. He begged the U.S. government to investigate his peace ray to protect the nation. He wrote to King Peter of Yugoslavia, thanking him for a small pension and apologizing for not visiting his homeland again. He wrote to himself in cryptic codes, leaving behind diagrams of inventions that have yet to be fully understood. Even in isolation, Tesla's mind remained on fire. The final days. By the early 1940s, Tesla was in his mid-80s. His health declined rapidly, his eyesight dimmed, his body thinned, but his mind, observers noted, remained sharp and precise. Hotel staff adored him and called him Mr. Tesla. They brought him extra linens for napkin rituals and reserved an elevator car just for his use when possibly refused to ride with others. On the 5th of January, 1943, Tesla told staff not to disturb him. 2 days later, a maid ignored the sign and entered room 3327. Nikola Tesla was found lying peacefully on his bed, dressed in a suit, hands folded over his chest. He had died alone, with nothing but notebooks, fragments of inventions, and the memory of a dove. The dove flies on. In his solitude, Tesla had created some of the most groundbreaking ideas of all time. He had failed, by society's measures, to capitalize on them, but he had succeeded in something far greater, inspiring generations. Seeing the world not just as it was, but as it could be, daring to imagine peace powered by energy and energy guided by harmony. His relationship with the white dove is more than a tale of affection. It is the story of a man who loved light, freedom, and purity, and saw in that bird a mirror of himself. As the white dove vanished into the heavens, so did Tesla from the world. But his vision remains, hovering above us, whispering through the currents, waiting to be heard again. Be alone, that is the secret of invention. Be alone, that is when ideas are born. Nikola Tesla. End of Chapter 9. Next, Chapter 10. Last Sparks, 500 words. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 10? Chapter S. Last Sparks. Let the future tell the truth and evaluate each one according to his work and accomplishments. The present is theirs. The future, for which I have really worked, is mine. Nikola Tesla. Time slipping away. As the world marched into the 1940s, global attention was consumed by the fires of World War II. Across Europe and Asia, cities were bombed, empires crumbled, and technology became the new weapon of dominance. In the United States, the brightest scientific minds were being gathered for top-secret projects, such as the Manhattan Project building the first atomic bomb. But one of the most brilliant minds of the previous century, Nikola Tesla, sat alone in a modest hotel room in Manhattan, forgotten by nearly all, his once revolutionary ideas collecting dust in drawers and notebooks. There were no laboratory assistants, no boardrooms, no investors, only the whisper of pigeons, the crackle of static from radios, and the restless scratching of pen on paper. The final years at the New Yorker Hotel. Tesla moved into the Hotel New Yorker in 1934, occupying rooms 3,327 and 3,328, thanks to arrangements quietly made by friends and admirers who couldn't bear to see him homeless. The hotel gave him free lodging in exchange for his scientific legacy, with the understanding that someday, perhaps, history would redeem him. Tesla lived modestly. He rarely left his room except to feed pigeons, dine in the hotel restaurant, always alone, and occasionally hold press conferences on his birthday. Each year, his announcements became more outlandish yet curiously prophetic. He claimed he had discovered a new particle that could carry power through the air. He spoke of creating an artificial gravity system that would revolutionize transportation. He promised that interplanetary communication was within reach. No one listened, or at least they pretended not to. The FBI and the Vault of Secrets. Upon Tesla's death, the U.S. government immediately seized his belongings. Agents from the Office of Alien Property, despite Tesla being a U.S. citizen, raided his hotel room and confiscated dozens of trunks filled with notebooks, blueprints, unpublished inventions, diagrams for machines that did not yet exist. A total of 80 trunks of material were removed, cataloged, and classified. The government assigned the analysis of these documents to a respected physicist, Dr. John G. Trump, an MIT professor and uncle of future President Donald J. Trump. After weeks of review, Dr. Trump reported, his thoughts and efforts during at least the past 15 years were primarily of a speculative, philosophical, and somewhat promotional character. The official conclusion? No viable technological breakthroughs. But others weren't convinced. Some claim that Tesla's notes were later used in the development of radar, electromagnetic propulsion, directed energy weapons, and early experiments related to the HARP project. To this day, Much of Tesla's work from those trunks remains unaccounted for. The obituary that ignited a legend. Nikola Tesla died sometime between the night of the 7th of January and the morning of the 8th of January, 1943, in room 3327. Cause of death: coronary thrombosis, a heart attack. He was 86 years old. His body was found by hotel staff, fully dressed, laying peacefully in bed. Nearby were pages of calculations, a box of seeds for his pigeons, and several unfinished letters addressed to heads of state. His death was announced in short, forgettable obituaries, many of them factual but emotionless. Most newspapers simply wrote, "Scientist dies in hotel," yet in Serbia, Yugoslavia, and among a small circle of admirers in America, mourning turned into a revival. They knew this was not just a man who tinkered with wires. Tesla had been something more, a funeral with hidden reverence. Tesla's funeral was held on the 12th of January, 1943, at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in Manhattan. Despite his obscurity, over 2,000 people attended. Nobel Prize winners sent condolences. Public officials praised his immeasurable contributions to the age of electricity. His body was cremated and his ashes eventually sent to Belgrade, now housed in a golden sphere-shaped urn at the Nikola Tesla Museum. In death, Tesla's light began to flicker again, but it would take decades before the world would truly see him again. The last inventions. In the years prior to his death, Tesla's sketches and writings explored ideas that seemed impossible at the time, but which have now found real-world analogs. Wireless power transmission, now explored by companies working on remote charging. Resonant energy systems, being tested in experimental physics labs. Space-based energy collection, a cornerstone of new renewable energy strategies. Plasma weapons and railguns, echoing Tesla's teleforce beam. Energy harvesting from the ionosphere, eerily similar to Tesla's cosmic ray collector. Tesla may not have completed these inventions, but he planted their seeds. And today, those seeds are blooming. Legacy carried in silence. Tesla left no children, no spouse, no official protege, but his work lived on in machines, in ideas, and in the invisible infrastructure of our world. He was not buried under monuments. He was buried in memory. For decades, only engineers, futurists, and dreamers spoke his name. History textbooks barely mentioned him. Movies chose Edison as the hero. Schools didn't teach his story. But in laboratories and hacker forums, in science fiction novels and space exploration conferences, the name Tesla began to resurface. And then it surged. Of all things, I like books best. Nikola Tesla, A Life in One Room, A Legacy Across the Universe. Nikola Tesla died with nothing, but he left behind everything. Our power grid, Tesla's AC system. Our radio and wireless communication, built on Tesla's theories. Remote control, drones, radar, neon lights, frequency resonance, high voltage coils, all born from Tesla's vision. He lived alone, he died alone, but his work now connects billions of people across the earth. He once said the future would belong to him, and today in our smartphones, in our electric cars, in our satellites, in our AI, he was right. Chapter 11. Resurrection of a Legend. All that was great in the past was ridiculed, condemned, combated, suppressedly, to emerge all the more powerfully, all the more triumphantly from the struggle. Nikola Tesla. Forgotten, then reborn. After his death in 1943, Nikola Tesla's name vanished from textbooks, museum exhibits, and popular culture. His achievements were quietly absorbed under the names of others. Marconi was credited with inventing radio. Edison was hailed as the father of electric power. X-rays, radar, and fluorescent lighting were attributed to others who had built upon his work. Tesla became a footnote, if he was mentioned at all, but even in the shadows the embers of his legend remained. In the 1960s and 1970s, a new generation of scientists, historians, science fiction writers, and rebels began to dig deeper, asking, who was Tesla, really? What they found was astonishing. The revival begins. In 1960, the International System of Units, SI, officially honored Tesla by naming the unit of magnetic flux density after him. The Tesla, T, it was a small start but symbolic. Then came a flood of interest from unconventional corners. Science fiction authors began writing about Tesla as a visionary who saw into the future. Conspiracy theorists unearthed his death ray and missing files, portraying him as the prophet of free energy and anti-gravity machines. Independent inventors hailed him as the patron saint of suppressed science. Tesla began to emerge from obscurity not through institutions, but through popular imagination, biographies, and revelations. Several groundbreaking biographies reignited public interest. Prodigal Genius, The Life of Nikola Tesla, by John J. O'Neill, 1944. Tesla, Man Out of Time, by Margaret Cheney, 1981. Wizard, The Life and Times of Nikola Tesla, by Mark J. Seifer, 1996. These works painted Tesla not only as a scientific titan, but as a tragic hero man ahead of his time, doomed by idealism and betrayed by the world he sought to enlighten. They helped uncover his disputes over patents, his wireless energy theories, his predictions of global communication, his opposition to war, greed, and intellectual theft. Tesla was no longer a forgotten eccentric. He was being reintroduced as the visionary who built the modern world, a world built on Tesla's foundations. Today, it is impossible to imagine modern life without the things Tesla helped pioneer. Technology, Tesla's contribution. Alternating current, AC, made power transmission possible over long distances. Wireless communication, early patents for radio, wireless energy, radio-controlled devices, first demonstration of remote control in 1898, fluorescent and neon lighting developed and demonstrated in his lab, Ratter principles, described decades before WWE2, X-ray imaging conducted, early imaging experiments before Röntgen, rotating magnetic field basis for all induction motors, Tesla coil, still used in RF applications and education. Tesla had anticipated, if not directly invented, many of the very things that define our digital and electrical age. The rise of Tesla as a cultural icon. By the late 1990s and 2000s, Tesla's name began appearing everywhere. Comic books and video games. Music, e.g., the rock band Tesla, movies like The Prestige, 2006, where David Bowie portrayed him as a mystical inventor, documentaries, YouTube channels, and podcasts dedicated to his life and secrets. What had once been myth became momentum. People began asking, why don't we learn about him in school? Why was he forgotten? And the answers greed, politics, institutional firmly, made Tesla more beloved. He became the symbol of the brilliant outsider, the misunderstood genius, the man who tried to give the world free energy. The Tesla name lives again. In 2003, a group of Silicon Valley engineers founded an electric vehicle startup. They called it Tesla Motors. Their mission was to electrify the future, just as Nikola Tesla had envisioned a century earlier. In naming the company after him, they honored not just the scientist, but his dream, clean, sustainable energy for all. Elon Musk, the company's CEO, later said, "We're using AC induction motors in our cars," and the inventor of the AC induction motor was Nikola Tesla. The company's success producing electric vehicles, solar technology, and energy storage systems helped spread Tesla's name to every corner of the earth. Today, millions of people drive Teslas, unaware that they are honoring a forgotten Serbian American genius who died penniless and alone in a New York hotel. Statues, museums, and honors. As Tesla's legacy grew, so did the efforts to preserve his memory. The Nikola Tesla Museum in Belgrade, Serbia, holds his ashes and thousands of original documents. Statues of Tesla have been erected in New York, Niagara Falls, Colorado Springs, and Zagreb. A plaque now stands at Wardenclyffe, the site of his unfinished tower. Tesla Day is celebrated on the 10th of July, his birthday, in several countries. Tesla's image has appeared on currency, postage stamps, and in scientific exhibitions around the world. The man who once walked the streets of Manhattan feeding pigeons in obscurity now stands immortalized in bronze, the legacy that launched 1,000 ideas. Tesla's influence extends beyond memorials and motors. His ideas continue to shape frontier science. Wireless energy transmission is being explored for charging electric vehicles and powering drones. Resonant frequency medicine is being researched for non-invasive healing. Artificial intelligence developers often quote Tesla's theories about the machine brain. Space-based solar stations are under development, echoing Tesla's dream of capturing cosmic energy. Even in his wildest visions, like contacting extraterrestrials or creating an Earth shield of energy to prevent war, Tesla left behind the seeds of tomorrow. The future is Tesla. The gift of mental power comes from God, divine being, and if we concentrate our minds on that truth, we become in tune with this great power. Nikola Tesla, the return of the white dove. In the eyes of many modern thinkers, Nikola Tesla has become the patron saint of imagination. Where Edison represents pragmatic invention, Tesla symbolizes pure creative genius. Where Einstein represents cosmic understanding, Tesla embodies visionary connection between nature, energy, and spirit. He lived a life of light and silence, misunderstood by his age, yet reborn in ours. He once said that when his beloved white dove died, his purpose ended. But he was wrong, because the true light he released, wireless, silent, glowing in the dark, has never gone out. It surrounds us now, in every screen, in every electric hum, in every current flowing through the walls of our homes. Nikola Tesla is not coming back, but he never really left. Chapter 12, Tesla's Legacy and the Future. The future will show whether my forecast is as accurate now as it has proved heretofore. Nikola Tesla. In the wires in the air. Every time you flick on a light, charge your phone, stream music wirelessly, or command a drone, you're standing in the shadow of Nikola Tesla's legacy. He is everywhere. His alternating current, AC, still flows through the global electrical grid. His principles of resonance, remote control, and wireless transmission power, the Internet of Things, smart cities, and space communication. His blueprints for a connected world have become our invisible reality. But as the 21st century advances, Tesla's impact is no longer confined to what he invented. It's also found in what he imagined. Dreams yet to be realized. Tesla died in 1943, and yet many of his most ambitious ideas are only now beginning to take shape. 1. Wireless global power systems. Tesla envisioned a world where towers like his Wardenclyffe tower would transmit electricity to homes, factories, and vehicles without wires. Today, wireless charging pads, power phones, and laptops, long-distance wireless energy transfer is being tested for electric vehicles, drones, and spacecraft. Microwave-based solar power stations are under study by NASA and private companies to beam solar energy from space to Earth, nearly identical to Tesla's space energy concepts. 2. Atmospheric and radiant energy. Tesla spoke of harvesting energy directly from the ionosphere and cosmic radiation. Today, theories on ambient energy harvesting, zero-point energy, and vacuum energy are being pursued by experimental physicists. Engineers are building systems to capture electromagnetic noise, RF signals, and solar radiation from the environment to power nanodevices. 3. Resonance-based medical healing. Tesla believed in the healing potential of vibrational frequencies. Today, scientists explore pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, PEMF, and frequency-specific microcurrent to treat chronic pain, bone injuries, and neurological conditions. Research into biofield resonance seeks to identify how electromagnetic signatures affect health, just as Tesla once proposed. 4. Free energy concepts. Tesla's idea of free energy for all remains controversial, but its ethical appeal is stronger than ever. Today, engineers and futurists debate decentralized energy, off-grid living, and open-source power infrastructure. Solar power, wind turbines, and smart batteries are helping people power homes with minimal environmental cost. The push for energy democracy mirrors Tesla's vision of energy as a universal right, not a commodity. The Tesla Space Age. Tesla predicted that the Earth would become part of a cosmic communication grid linked to other planets and stars. We shall be able to communicate instantly, irrespective of distance. Today, Starlink satellites orbit Earth, enabling global high-speed internet. Interplanetary probes transmit data across the solar system using resonant frequencies. SETI continues listening for signals Tesla once claimed to detect in Colorado Springs. The dream of a planetary nervous system is real, and Tesla is its earliest prophet. Environmental movements and Tesla's ethos. Tesla despised waste and pollution. He saw humanity's dependence on fossil fuels as primitive. The harness of waterfalls is the most economical method known for drawing energy from the sun. Today, climate change forces the world to rethink energy systems. The race is on for green technologies, electrified transportation, smart power grids, sustainable innovation. The modern environmentalist movement echoes Tesla's values: clean energy, universal access, harmony with nature. Tesla didn't just think about electricity, he thought about balance. The Tesla Renaissance in tech culture. Tesla has become a cult figure in startup culture, innovation hubs, and among modern-day inventors and dreamers. Why? Because he failed publicly but kept working, gave freely even when others exploited him, stayed idealistic even when he had every reason to give up. He is proof that one person with enough vision can change the course of history. His legacy is now printed into tech startup names, hacker conferences, AI models and machine learning networks, software company logos. Tesla has become the patron saint of radical innovation. Tesla's name in education. Around the world, hundreds of schools, research institutes, and engineering departments bear his name. Exemples include Nikola Tesla STEM High School in Washington, U.S., Nikola Tesla Technical Museum in Zagreb, Croatia, Tesla Institute of Electrical Engineering in India. In Serbia, his face appears on currency. In Croatia, his birthhouse is a museum. In the U.S., plaques and exhibitions grow each year. Once erased from textbooks, Tesla is now a beacon for aspiring scientists. Artificial intelligence and the machine mind. Tesla believed machines could think, react, and even empathize. I purpose to show that however impossible it may seem, an automaton may be contrived which will have its own mind. Today, artificial intelligence has entered every field: medicine, defense, finance, art. Neural networks, machine learning, and robotics are bringing Tesla's teleautomaton dreams to life. Autonomous cars, robotic assistants, and drone fleets echo his early vision from 1,000 898. The man who controlled a boat with invisible forces is now influencing machines that think. Tesla's message to the future. Tesla's writings, once dismissed as impractical, are now seen as poetic science. They carry a message that science should liberate, not control. That energy is abundant, not scarce. That nature and technology can coexist in balance. That knowledge must be shared, not hoarded. His call to a future of harmony between mind, machine, and the natural world is more urgent now than ever before. If Tesla were alive today, if Nikola Tesla walked the earth now, he might power villages with wireless energy from satellites, teach children how to build clean energy generators in their homes, use machine learning to identify harmonic frequencies in ecosystems, send encrypted thoughts through quantum networks, build towers again, but this time make them fly. Would he be understood? Maybe not, but he would be ready, because the future he saw is now arriving. The scientists of today think deeply instead of clearly. One must be sane to think clearly, but one can think deeply and be quite insane. From a room to the stars. Tesla died in a hotel room. He now lives in the stars, in every satellite signal, in every wireless transmission, in every hum of electricity. He believed that all things vibrate with resonance, that thoughts, emotions, light, and power were different frequencies of the same source. And perhaps, in some unknowable dimension of time and energy, he's still humming there, surrounded by the white glow of that one dove, whispering secrets to those willing to listen. Epilogue, a mind that shaped tomorrow. The individual is ephemeral. Races and nations come and pass away, but man remains. Nikola Tesla. Papen, a light that never went out. Nikola Tesla did not die in darkness. Though he passed alone, in silence, in room 3,327 of the New Yorker Hotel, his light never truly went out. It traveled through Timano as memory alone, but as energy made real, reshaping the world he had once tried to give everything to. He was mocked in life, erased in textbooks, silenced by powerful men. But now, in our modern world, his presence is everywhere. In the quiet hum of the AC current flowing through your walls, in the invisible pulse of your Wi-Fi signal, in the remote controls, electric cars, drones, and smart homes. In the stars, where satellites echo his dream of wireless connection across the cosmos. Tesla is no longer the forgotten genius. He is the timeless architect of the future, the legacy of the eccentric. Nikola Tesla has become more than a scientist. He is a symbol of pure innovation, of defiance in the face of conformity, of sacrificing comfort to serve humanity, of the belief that knowledge should be shared, not sold, and that progress must be driven by vision, not vanity. He lived a life most would call tragic, and yet, in every generation that dares to imagine something better, his story is rewritten not as tragedy, but as prophecy, a compass for the 21st century. As we face global energy crises, climate change, artificial intelligence, and space colonization, Tesla's blueprint offers direction. He reminds us that energy must be abundant and clean. Technology must serve the soul of humanity. Imagination is more important than obedience. True genius lies not in domination, but in elevation. His is not just a scientific legacy, it is a spiritual one. Tesla believed that the universe vibrates with unity, that all things light, thought, sound, force air, part of a singular, harmonious field. To honor Tesla is to honor the interconnectedness of all things. Final reflections. He was born during a lightning storm. He tamed that lightning. He dreamed of sending it wirelessly around the earth. He failed publicly, bitterly, but still, the world changed in his wake. He never married, never had children, died in debt, died alone, and yet In every electric heart beating today, in every lab, every wire, every whisper of innovation, he lives on. The world now remembers. Today, Nikola Tesla is a unit of magnetic induction, a car company revolutionizing transport, a symbol of rebellion in every startup that dreams big, a name etched on universities, statues, currency, and mines. In life, he was unseen. In legacy, he is unstoppable. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. If you remember nothing else, remember this: Nikola Tesla gave us the future. Not just in gadgets and grids, he gave us the courage to imagine what others called madness, to build what others feared, to speak truth when others were silent. And he left behind a whisper, still echoing through the wires. The present is theirs, the future is mine.